She did everything right. She loved deeply. She gave generously. She stayed when anyone else would have left. And every single time, every time, she ended up feeling invisible. Not because the people in her life were bad people, but because she kept walking into relationships carrying a little girl on her back. A little girl who was still waiting to finally feel enough. If that landed somewhere in your chest right now, this episode is for you. Welcome back to Elisha Space, a sanctuary for healing, growth, and the kind of honest conversations that actually change something. I'm Elisha, counselor, author, and someone who has walked this road herself. If you're new here, I'm so glad you found this place. And if you've been here with me for a while, you already know this is a space where we don't do spiritual bypassing. We don't pretend the hard things away. We hold them. We examine them. And together we move through them. Today, we are going to go deep. We're talking about your inner child, not as a metaphor, but as a real psychological and spiritual reality that is actively shaping the quality of your relationships right now. Today, we're going to look at how the needs that weren't met in your childhood became the unconscious scripts running your adult love life. And most importantly, we're going to talk about what healing actually looks like. Before we go there, I want to take care of your nervous system first, because some of what we cover today may bring things up. So let's resource before we go in. I want you to place one hand on your heart and one on your belly. Feel the warmth of your own touch. That matters more than you know. We're going to do 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 6 counts out. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system. It is literally a physiological signal to your body that you are safe. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. And slowly exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. And slowly exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. And slowly exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice where you feel that in your body right now, even just a slight release. That's your nervous system listening. That's healing. Here's what I need you to understand first. Every human child comes into the world with a set of core developmental needs. These aren't luxuries. These are the building blocks of a regulated nervous system, a coherent sense of self, and the ability to attach safely to other people. Psychologists generally identify 4 primary categories of childhood need. Number 1, safety. The need to feel physically and emotionally protected, not just from danger, but from unpredictability, from the volatility of a parent's moods, from homes where you never quite know what version of mom or dad was going to walk through the door. Number 2, connection. The need to feel seen, not just present, seen. To have a caregiver look at you and communicate, you matter. You are not a burden. You belong here. Number 3, autonomy. The need to develop a sense of self that is separate from your parents. To have your own preferences, your own voice, your own emotional experience, honored rather than controlled or dismissed. Number 4, validation. the need for your emotional experience to be acknowledged as real and legitimate, not minimized, not spiritualized away, not met with "you shouldn't feel that way," just received. Now, here's what happens when one or more of those needs go consistently unmet. Your brain, which is extraordinarily resourceful, begins to develop what I call adaptive strategies, ways of getting as much of what you need as possible within the conditions that are available. As a child, these strategies are brilliant. They kept you emotionally alive. They helped you navigate. But here's the problem that nobody tells you. Those strategies don't get filed away when you grow up. They get promoted. They become your automatic way of showing up in every relationship for the rest of your life until you do the work to interrupt them. That little girl or that little boy who learned that love was conditional, she is still making decisions in your adult relationships. She's the one who goes silent when she's hurt because speaking up never felt safe. She's the one who gives and gives and gives until there's nothing left, hoping that if she's enough, she won't be abandoned. She's the one who hyperanalyzes text messages at 2 a.m., trying to figure out if someone is pulling away. This is not weakness. This is neurobiology, and it is healable. I want to pause right here and offer you a reflection. Which of these 4 needs felt most absent in your childhood? Safety, connection, autonomy, or validation? You don't need to have a clear answer right now. Just notice what came up when I asked. Sometimes our body knows before our mind does. Here is what nobody in the self-help space will say plainly enough. You cannot outlove your unhealed childhood. You cannot attract your way out of it, manifest your way around it, or pray it into oblivion without ever actually processing it. The inner child is not interested in positive thinking. She needs something much more specific. She needs to be witnessed. I work with people every week who come to me bewildered by their own relationship patterns. Elisha, I keep choosing the same person in a different body. I know this relationship isn't healthy, but I cannot seem to leave. I give everything and somehow still end up alone. These are not character flaws. These are the predictable, documented outcomes of unmet childhood needs. Let me show you what they look like. If your need for connection and safety wasn't consistently met as a child, maybe you had a parent who was emotionally available sometimes and gone other times. Your nervous system learned a specific lesson. Love is not reliable, and the only way to secure it is to be hypervigilant. So in adult relationships, you become the person who needs constant reassurance, who reads tone into silence, who feels a text going unread as a small catastrophe, who sometimes acts out of that fear and then feels ashamed of their own intensity. This is anxious attachment, and underneath it is a child who learned that love was inconsistent and that if she or he just tried hard enough, they could make it stay. Can you notice where you feel that in your body? That vigilance, that bracing? That's an old survival response. It kept you emotionally safe once. It's costing you peace now. When your need for validation went unmet, when you learned that your emotional experience was inconvenient, too much, or simply ignored, you developed a different strategy. Become whatever is easiest to love. Agree when you disagree. Shrink when you have something to say. Apologize for needing things. Perform competence and calm even when you are drowning. People-pleasing is not a personality type. It is a trauma response. It is what happens when a child internalizes the message, my authentic self is not lovable, but my compliant self might be. And what does it cost? Over time, it erodes your sense of self. You stop knowing what you actually want, what you actually feel, what you actually believe, because you've spent so long calibrating yourself to others that your own signal goes faint. Here's a reflection. Do you say yes when you mean no, and then quietly resent the person you said yes to? That resentment is important information. It's your true self trying to be heard. Fear of abandonment is one of the most common and most painful relational patterns I see, and it shows up in two very different ways, which is why it gets so confusing. First, the person who clings, who texts twice if there's no answer, who cannot tolerate distance, who escalates when they feel someone pulling away. Second, and this is the one people don't expect, the person who leaves first, who finds a reason to exit every relationship right at the moment it's becoming real, who says, I don't want to get too attached, who keeps walls just high enough that nobody can really get in. Both of these responses come from the same wound. A child who experienced loss, whether through death, divorce, emotional withdrawal, or abandonment, and whose nervous system made a decision. This will never happen to me again. Some kids try to prevent it by holding tighter. Others prevent it by leaving before the other shoe drops. Neither strategy is wrong. Both are the fruit of a real wound, and both require the same medicine. Learning, slowly and safely, that you can be known and not left. Some of us learned that our place in the family system was the fixer, the strong one, the one who took care of mom's emotions, managed dad's volatility, kept the peace so that things didn't fall apart. These were children who had to be adults before their time, and they often grow into men and women who feel most comfortable in relationships when they're giving, because giving is familiar. Receiving feels dangerous, or selfish, or like it will cost them something. Notice right now, how does it feel to receive a compliment? To let someone do something for you without immediately returning it? For some of you, there's a tightness there, a discomfort. That is the inner child who learned that her worth was in her usefulness. Hey, I want to pause here for just a moment. If this is already resonating with you, if you're seeing yourself in any of these patterns, I want to encourage you to do two things. First, subscribe and turn on notifications, because we do this work consistently here on Elisha Space. Second, there are resources in the description below, including how to connect with our counseling community at Restoring You. You don't have to keep navigating this alone. Okay, let's keep going. Now, I want to bring in what makes this conversation different here at Elisha Space, because I believe deeply and theologically that the inner child conversation is not outside the realm of Scripture. It's central to it. Psalms chapter 22 verses 9 and 10 says, "You are the one who brought me safely from my mother's womb and led me to trust you at my mother's breast. I was thrust into your arms at my birth. You have been my God from the moment I was born." Before you had language for your pain, before you could name what was missing, Before you knew the words attachment style or trauma response, God was already present with the child you were. He saw every unmet need, every moment of loneliness, every time you needed to be held and weren't, every time your voice was silenced. And here is the beautiful, sometimes difficult truth of reparenting. God is not asking you to go back and fix the past. He is asking to be the father that re-meets every need your earthly parents could not. He offers safety to the child who never felt protected. He offers validation to the one who was told she was too much. He offers connection, unbreakable, unconditional, impossible to earn, and impossible to lose. But, and I want to be clinically honest with you here, receiving that spiritually does not automatically bypass the neurological work. The brain still needs to rewire. The nervous system still needs to learn new safety. Faith is the foundation, but we will get to do the therapeutic work on that foundation. You are not broken because you're still carrying this. You are beloved and you are in process. Okay, this is the part where we get practical, because I believe in giving you something you can use before you close this video. So let me walk you through 4 healing practices, and you don't have to do all of them at once. Choose one, start there. The first step in inner child healing is making the relationship conscious. That means giving your inner child a name, not a cliche, a real name. Maybe it's the name you went by as a little girl. Maybe it's a name that feels soft and young and safe. And then write her a letter. Ask her, what did you need you didn't get? What were you afraid of? What did you learn about love? And then write it from her perspective. Let her answer. That is not childish. This is one of the most courageous things you'll ever do. The second practice is what I call tracing the thread. The next time you have a disproportionate emotional reaction in a relationship, the next time you spiral, shut down, people please, or self-sabotage, pause and ask yourself, how old does this feel? Disproportionate reactions are almost always a child's wound responding through an adult body. The feeling of being dismissed by your partner that sends you into a 3-day freeze. That might be a 7-year-old who was told her feelings didn't matter. That rage that rises when someone doesn't keep their word. That might be a 10-year-old who kept waiting for a parent who never showed up. When you can trace the feeling back to its origin, something shifts. You stop being at the mercy of the reaction. You get to tend to the child instead of performing the wound. For those of you who have been in this space for a while, you know we use the C.A.L.M C.A.L.M protocol as a nervous system reset. Let me bring it in here in the context of inner child work. C, check in. Pause in the moment of activation. What am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? What does this remind me of? A, acknowledge. Name the inner child's experience without judgment. A part of me is scared right now. That makes sense given what I learned about love. L, listen. What does this part of me actually need in this moment? What does the situation demand? What does she need? M, meet the need. Give yourself, right now, in your adult body, a version of what the child needed. A hand on your heart, a breath, a true statement spoken aloud. I am safe, I am here, I am not leaving you. Take a moment right now. What does your inner child need to hear most? Speak it to yourself, out loud if you're somewhere you can. This is reparenting. This is the work. One of the most powerful gifts you can give your inner child is learning to set boundaries, not from fear, not from anger, not from the desperate energy of someone who's been violated one too many times, but from wholeness, from a secure sense of what you need and observe. We talk about the SAFE, S-A-F-E, boundaries model in this community: space, access, frequency, and emotional labor. And every single one of those boundary categories is rooted in a core childhood need that is now yours to honor as a child. You get to decide who has access to your emotional interior, not based on obligation, not based on fear, based on safety and mutual respect. Healthy boundaries aren't walls that keep love out. They're the fence that makes the garden safe enough to let something beautiful grow. I want to stop for one moment and say this directly. Healing your inner child does not mean your adult relationships will become perfect. It means you will stop unconsciously recreating the wound and start consciously choosing something different. That is not a small thing. That is everything. I want to close our time today by speaking directly to that little one inside of you. If it feels right, place your hand on your heart and receive these. I see you. I know you waited a long time for someone to notice you were hurting. The wait is over. You were not too much. You were not too sensitive. You were not too difficult. You were a child, and you deserve to be loved well. The patterns you learned to survive, they made sense then. You don't need them to save you anymore. You are allowed to need things. You are allowed to want things. You are allowed to take up space. I will not abandon you again, not to the demands of others, not to the voice that says you're not enough. I am here, and I am learning to stay. Healing is possible for you, not someday, now, this breath, this moment. This is where it begins. Before you close this video, I want to give you one concrete action, your healing challenge. Write a letter to your inner child. You don't have to share it with anyone. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be eloquent. Just start with, "Dear," and then say your name. "I'm sorry I've taken so long to come back for you. Here's what I want you to know," and let it flow. And if you're in a relationship right now that is surfacing all of this, please hear me. That is not a sign that something is wrong with you. That is often the sacred invitation for healing. Relationships are the classroom, and the fact that you're here, the fact that you pressed play on this video, tells me that something in you is ready. You were created by a God who saw fit to knit your soul together with intention and care. And that same God who has been with you from your first breath is the one holding you even now in the middle of this healing journey. Isaiah 41:10 says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." That includes your inner child. That includes the sacred parts and the wounded parts and the parts that don't yet know how to receive love. All of you is held. I am so grateful you spent this time here with me. If this episode touched something in you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. You never know whose life you might change with that one click. Subscribe. Leave a comment and tell me what came up for you, and I will see you on the next one. You are not alone. You are healing, and you are loved.